from a 9 to 5 to notary success. This is my journey. This is how I ended up in the notary business. You might have a story similar to mine, but this is what it was like for me. So boom, it started like this. I went to college up in Boca Raton. Shout out to Florida Atlantic University. I was going to school there for computer science, information technology, basically that tech, right? And while I was going through school, I was taking up little jobs. And I remember one of the last jobs that I had was actually just working in my field. And as I was working my 9 to 5, I didn't necessarily hate it, but it was one of those things where I was like, I wasn't stimulating my mind. I'm one of those people that has to be like doing something creative, or I just have to be just doing something. I was just going to work all day, sitting down, working, looking at the computers, go home. By the time I get home, I'm tired. I eat, go to sleep, wake up to repeat the cycle. And that was just, for me, it was just depressing. I was just like, I don't want to live like this. I wanted something more. So I remember going into the parking lot once, calling my uncle and just talking to him. And then he said just like, hey, you should go ahead and try out the entrepreneurship realm. You should go ahead and try it out because you're in your 20s. If you were to fail, you have a whole bunch of years to figure it out. So I was like, okay, cool. I think I was like 21 at the time. I'm like, okay, cool. 21, 22, something like that. I can jump into entrepreneurship. I can try a whole bunch of different things, and I have a whole bunch of years to figure this out. And that's what I decided to do. So what I did was, after I graduated, got my apartment, I just went on Google. I was just searching things, how to make money in your 20s, how to make money online, doing all these different things. And what I was doing is something that I realized a lot of people are doing now. And I was getting caught in that perpetual cycle of doing the things that are flashy, new, and fun on Instagram. Case in point, tried the Toro, tried the Airbnb, tried doing all those little things that was like popping a couple of years ago. But then I'm starting to see like, okay, there's just a rise and there's a fall. Like those just come and go in waves. But then I realized like, yo, all the boring businesses are still around, especially when I look back now. Those come and go. Some people are doing it, like the top percent stay. But then the majority of people that started are just gone. But then when you look at your tax offices, your accounting firms, your law firms, your things of that sort, the boring businesses, your laundromats, those are always around. So I remember one day my uncle was like, hey, you should try out being a notary. He said I was like, a notary? Because I was thinking at that point, $10, $15, I'm trying to make some money, man. How am I do that just stamping some papers? She said, you should look into a mobile notary. He said, you should look into that. And I was like, okay, cool. And I started realizing like, oh, I can charge more than I thought. So after I got that job, after I left that job, I was doing a little bit of odd jobs in between, like the Postmates and stuff like that, and kind of just learning about the notary game on and off. But then when I actually first finally got my commission, and then I actually did a job, I was like, whoa, one job for less than 30 minutes got me $75. And that's when I was charging that at the time. And I was just like, oh, I just drove for like the whole day or like half the day for Postmates and DoorDash, and I didn't make that. And I had to work for that. And then I just went over here, stamped this document, took my little Mary behind home, and I got $75. I was like, oh, okay, I'm hustling backwards. I'm 100%, 100% hustling backwards. Because you mean to tell me that there's people out there that's having multiple notary jobs in a day, and they're charging $75 each time to stamp a paper that takes less than 30 minutes. Honestly, sometimes it takes less than 15. You just go in there, do what you need to do, and get out of there. So I'm like, okay, I need to look into this field more. So long story short, I jumped into the field, started making some money here and there. And then I, because I wasn't interested in the business, I was like, oh, this isn't flashy and stuff like that. You know, just a young mind. I jumped onto other things. I jumped back onto the hot trends. And the hot trends work, but like I said, they're waves. They go up and they go down. You see them on Instagram, you see them on TikTok. They're doing good and then they fall. And then there's another one that comes up. It's SMMA, then it goes down. Then you have Ecom, then it goes down. And then you have Airbnb, and then it goes down. And then you have Turo, and then it goes down. But you see things like the notary business, steady. Older, more established people, they're just doing the steady stuff. The notary business, steady. Tax office, steady. Accounting firms, steady. And I'm like, oh, okay. So when my last business was really like just starting to go on the way down, I was like, let me go back to my roots. I was like, let me go back to doing something that I know brings in money, and let me focus on that. So at that point, I was just like, okay, cool. I know that the notary business made me money. Let me go back to that. I remember I sat down and I just was sitting down at a client's house for 15 minutes and made money. So I'm like, all right, let me focus on how can I just get more of those clients? Because at that point, my expenses were super low. I'm like, okay, cool. So in order to get X, and X amount, I only need, let's call it 10 clients a month, right? I'm like, if I need 10 clients a month, all I need to do is focus on how to get 10 clients a month. So I just tried a whole bunch of different tactics, read a whole bunch of different books, trying stuff out, not wasting money, but spending money, learning, and just gaining all these data sets and learning different strategies to like, all right, how can I get money in the notary business as fast as possible? And when I did that, I created something called the Notary hybrid system. So I'm like, okay, cool. I know that if I wanted to start from scratch again, if I'm ever on my ass, I could just do this. Follow that step, follow that step, follow that step, follow that step, and get back to where I need to get to. Because one thing that my brother and I realized is with the notary business, and we're starting to realize in just business period, once you find something that's profitable, once you find something that's working, it's just a matter of just 10xing the same thing that you're doing. Like, you don't have to be super extravagant and try a whole bunch of different other things. You just need to do the same thing that's working over and over and then learn how to scale it. The problem where a lot of people mess up is they do things that aren't working, that aren't profitable businesses, and try to throw more money into it. But if you throw money into a broken system, you're just going to have more of a broken system. But once you have something that's working and you're throwing money into a working system, you're just going to have more of a working system. You see what I'm saying? And then at that point, you reach other problems like, all right, how do I tend to all these customers? But that's a different story for a different day. So once I realized like, okay, this is a working system, I realized that, oh, it's easy. All I have to do now is turn up the knob. And the analogy that my brother and I said once is two things we always say. We say slow and steady, then all at once, because at first it took us a little time to get clients. Then we used our system, waited for a little bit, boom. And then we just started making money. I was just like, whoa. So that's why we always say now, like, you really have to be the type of person that's okay with delayed gratification, because the work that you put in now, you're probably not going to feel that sometimes until like 3-4 months down the line. But when it comes, bro, when it comes, y'all, it comes. When the play hits, the play hits. But you just got to be patient, keep working the system, because you know the system works and it's proven to work. And then just let it play out. And then when it does play out, you know that that was all the efforts that you put in 3 months ago. That's how it really works. That's how it really works. And the other analogy we say too is like, it's like turning up a knob. Once you figure out where the water is and you turn on the knob and now you see like water is dripping out the faucet, it's like, oh, okay, the water's coming out the faucet. So now I know water's here. Water in this case would be money. But once you turn on the faucet, once you put the faucet in the right place and turn on and you see that water, it's like, okay, I know money's here. I know water is here. If I want to get more water, all I got to do is what? Turn the knob on some more. And then it's like, okay, now I know it's working. Money's coming, money's coming, money's coming. And then you reach another level of business where it's like, okay, cool. Now I just need to focus on making sure I can provide a good service to all these clients. But for me, like I said, it was just making sure that I was being mature enough to understand that I don't need to chase all these trends. I just need something that's going to pay me out consistently. And one thing I'll say to anybody out there that has a 9-to-5, anybody that's doing like a gig job, you're just in the gig economy and just, doing the one-off job is what I used to call it. Even if mobile notarization is the notary business is not something that you want to do, you need to bring money in now that's going to replace the income that you have, so then you can focus on other things. So I'll say that again. You need to focus on things that can bring you in money now to replace that other income that you were doing, so you can focus on other things. Because rather than having to drive, just simple math, 10 hours for the day on Postmates and DoorDash and Uber Eats, you could work for 3 hours, and then now you have 7 hours where you could learn to do something else. But now you have money that's replacing your income. You're doing less work and you're making more money. And that's the way I started thinking of things. Because like, okay, now I can bring money in for myself. I'm no longer worrying about struggling. So now I can worry about living and creating a solid foundation and building on top of that from there. And that's always been something that's in my mind. Like, once you get away from your job and you have something that's paying you, just focus on building a solid foundation. And for me, that was the notary business. I'm like, cool, I'm going to make sure that this is really good. I'm going to make sure I have a good system. And then if you want to make it more stable, as you learn more about it, you can add more legs to the business. Because when you first start off your business, it's kind of like it's on one leg. Then you learn some more. Now it's on two legs. It's more stable. Then you learn some more. It's on three legs. It's more stable. And you can continue to make it more stable, or you can just build on top of that. All right, maybe the notary business is good, is paying all my expenses and then some. Cool. Now I'm going to move on to the next business. So that's how my mind is thinking about it now. But if you're just at level one, which you should start at, if you're just at level one and you're still working a job and trying to get away from that, or you're just doing little one-off things and you're just trying to find a way to bring some money, focus on that. Focus on a notary business. Understand how to make some money. Understand how to be self-sufficient, how to grow on your own, how to support yourself so you're not struggling anymore. And then you move from there. But that was kind of like my success story in the notary business. It's not flashy. It's straight, honestly, straight truth. I'm telling you how it was done. And hopefully it can help somebody out there. If you got a 9-to-5, like I said, check it out. If you're a parent, even if you're a parent working at home, something you should check it out because you can bring some extra income as well. But I don't know. The notary hybrid system changed my life. That's why I created, put together. Made it work for me. I know it could work for you, but if you're interested, hit the link below. There's a free bundle, a free kit. I just gave you guys all the resources for free. You could go ahead and click on that, download that. That should help you out. If you want to hop on a one-on-one, you know I'm always available for that, and I'm always available for coaching on that link down below as well. But anyways, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Peace, love, and your boy Knowledge is out.